shadows start to fade as the truth comes in sight. On the fourth day, he said, let there be light, let there be light.
Welcome back to Fourth Day, guys. If you're new around here, I'm here to give clarity and understanding to Christians and Jews in the last days of the kingdom to clear up the confusion that religion's caused us. And if you're Muslim, you're going to really like this topic because we're talking about the parable of the 10 virgins. Allah Akbar. Kidding, of course. But we all know the parable. 10 virgins. 5 are wise, 5 are foolish. The 5 that were foolish took no oil with their lamps, but the wise took oil with their lamps. And while the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose, took their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, our lamps have gone out. But the wise answered, Not so, lest there not be enough for us and you, but go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. And those that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Then other virgins came and said, Open unto us, open unto us. And he said, I know you not. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour when the Son of Man cometh. Now what's going on in this parable? There's so many different things going on. Why is it mentioning 10 virgins? What are they trying to buy and sell? What are these lamps that they're carrying? And why is everybody crying at midnight? These are the answers that I'm going to explain in this parable. And they're all rooted in understanding of the Tanakh, the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament. As I said before, if you're new around here, what the New Testament tries to do is explain truths hidden using riddles, parables, and symbolism. And this parable is no different. So there's a couple things that this parable is actually explaining. It's explaining the timing of the day of Yehovah, and it uses words that you should be able to identify with if you know the Torah. And it's explaining who gets in and who stays out, but I'm going to explain to you why that is. You see, in Exodus 19, God gave us his covenant. It's a marriage contract. This is our wedding vows. God told us in Mount Sinai, Be ready the third day. Wash your robes. Come not at your wives. So the symbolism of this parable is talking about the virgins, meaning they're supposed to be ready for the wedding day. So they're supposed to be wearing white. Now, the only thing we know about this day in Exodus 19, because it doesn't give us an exact day, it only tells us to be ready the third day. So this is a depiction of a marriage. Now, of course, the bridegroom is symbolic of the Messiah that's going to come. And who the bride is, who the wise virgins are, that's what we're going to explain next. See, Scripture tells us that the wise are those that keep the commandments. Thou hast made me wiser than mine enemies, because I have kept your commandments. God says in Deuteronomy, in keeping these commandments, this is your wisdom in the sight of the nations. So all of a sudden you have these 10 virgins, and then there's a midnight cry. Now what's this midnight cry speaking about? Now, again, if you know the Torah, you know that the story of Passover speaks about a midnight cry. That when the death angel came out, when the midnight cry came in the story of Passover, all the firstborn in the land were killed. So Jesus is referencing 2 different appointed times. He's speaking of our wedding day, the third day as we know it as in Exodus 19, but this is also tied to a specific feast. This is speaking about Shavuot, or as Christians know it, it's talking about Pentecost. So what you would do is you would keep unleavened bread for 7 days. After the conclusion of the 7 days of unleavened bread, you would count 7 Sabbaths. Once those are complete, this is known as the day of Shavuot, or the day of Pentecost in Christian circles. I'm going to explain how and why these 2 feasts are correlated together in this parable, because the timing of this event is hidden within this parable. And I'm going to explain why here in a moment. So all of a sudden you see the Messiah come and they say, Go out to meet him. So all the people trim their lamps and they go forth to meet the bridegroom. The problem is 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. The foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, our lamps have gone out. Now what is the lamp? Again, this parable is using symbolism stemming from Psalms 119 when it says, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Proverbs 6:23, For the commandment is a lamp and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of it. So the wise virgins are the ones that were keeping the commandments and the laws of God. But the foolish, they weren't ready. They had no oil for their lamps. Now the reason why it's saying that they had no oil is because God gave us a commandment. When he was speaking about the tabernacle, he said, Make sure to light the lamp and let it burn continuously. So what is this depicting about the foolish? That they were not faithful. They didn't remain steadfastly faithful to that covenant. So when the time of the redemption and our marriage back to God comes and we're supposed to be gathered back to Israel, They said, give us of your oil, our lamps have gone out. We haven't been faithful. So the wise respond back and say, not so, lest there not be enough for us and you, but go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. Now, what are these virgins buying and selling? Why are they telling them to go buy something? Are they telling them to go buy money? Are they telling them to go buy oil? Now, if we just read, the lamp in this parable is symbolic of keeping the commandments and keeping the laws of God. It's keeping the covenant of God. But there's a proverb in Proverbs chapter 23, it says, buy the truth and sell it not. Also get wisdom and understanding. So the wise are saying to the foolish who were not faithful to that covenant, when the time came, and it came abruptly, go buy the truth for yourself. And as they went to buy, the bridegroom came. So the Messiah comes. And those that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Now, why does it say those that were ready? Because God told us on this third day, our wedding day, in Exodus chapter 19, he said, be ready the third day. And again, this third day, you probably recognize this as the day that Jesus actually rose from the dead. It's using the same imagery and the same symbolism. This is an appointed feast day of God. It's known as the third day, but this is our wedding day, the day that Moses gave us the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. Moses said, here's the marriage contract. And the people said, all that Jehovah has said, we will do it. So these wise virgins, they were ready. They remained faithful to that covenant. So when the wedding day came, they entered into the gates, but the foolish, they weren't allowed in. So as they're outside the gates, they're saying, let us in, let us in. And the master of the house said, I do not know you. Now this is what David said. Now, the future Messiah is a depiction of King David. God said, my servant David shall feed them. And I'll set up one shepherd, and David shall be their shepherd. Now, King David said, a people who I have not known shall serve me. The heathen that I have not known shall serve me. So this is the Messiah, this figure, David, standing outside the gates and telling them, I do not know you. Because the only ones that he knows are the people of Israel. And who is Israel? Israel are those that hear the words of God and do it. Just as the people proclaimed back to Moses on that third day, all that Jehovah said, we will do it. So the last part of the parable says, watch therefore. Now, why does he say watch? Because in Exodus chapter 12, God tells us that Passover is a night of watching unto Jehovah. Now, why is this important? Because Passover comes first. And if you don't keep Passover, then you won't know when that third day is, because you're supposed to keep Passover and know when that time is. Otherwise, you won't know when the next feast day is, because it's correlated to 7 Sabbaths after the unleavened bread time. So when he says, you know not the day or the hour when the Son of Man comes, it's because in this particular year, when the timing of the redemption comes, this parable is mentioning 2 distinct feast days of Jehovah, Passover and Pentecost, or Shavuot. Now, how can these 2 days all align? Because Passover is in the first month, and Shavuot, or our wedding day, is in the third month. That's the mystery. You see, in the Torah, God says that the beginning of the year is based on when the barley is ripened. It says that when the barley was green in the ear, this shall be the first of months to you. Because we cannot bring our first fruits offering of the barley unless we have enough grain to offer. So God is in charge of the times and the seasons. For that reason, this is why no man knows the day or the hour, because what's happening in this time period is you actually have a second provision for a Passover. If you have a leap year one year, let's say you have one side keeping Passover in March, and the other side said, no, we got to keep it in April. Because of this ambiguity that happens usually every 2 or 3 years, when the time of Shavuot comes, let's say in May, some will be keeping the second Passover, and some will be keeping Shavuot. This is why no man knows the day or the hour. And it's not speaking about a rapture to heaven. What this is speaking about is a regathering back to Israel for the faithful, the wise virgins who kept the covenant of God, kept their lamps burning continuously. They remained faithful to God's covenant. And when the time came, they entered in, and the door was shut. Now, why does it mention that the door is shut? Well, the mention of the door being shut is being mentioned about 2 different distinct time periods. When you read in the book of Genesis, you're going to see that there was a distinct time when Lot met the people and he served them unleavened bread, and he brought the people in and the door was shut. You see the same imagery when you're seeing the timing of Noah's Ark. If you remember, Jesus said, as the days of Noah were, so shall be the days of the coming of the Son of Man. They were eating and drinking and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark and he took them all away. Now, why is this important? What was the day that Noah entered the ark? if you look at Genesis chapter 7, verse 11, it says, "And Noah entered the ark in the 2nd month on the 17th day of his life." So what is happening here is this could be viewed, depending on how you look at the calendar, this could be viewed as the 2nd month or the 3rd month, just depending on your perspective and when you started to keep the actual Passover. Some groups will have kept Passover in March, some would have kept it in April, but when the time comes in May, it could be viewed as the 2nd or 3rd month. That way no one knows the day or the hour. Why? Because God's in charge of the times and the seasons. But everything is correlating on these 3 distinct time periods. The day Noah entered the ark, unleavened bread, the 2nd one, and then lastly, our wedding day, Shavuot. So that's what this parable is depicting. All one has to do to be ready is to keep the marriage contract that God gave us at Mount Sinai. Who the Messiah is doesn't matter. So hopefully this parable now makes sense to you. I've heard dozens and dozens of explanations from different Christian channels trying to explain this, but none of it adds up to the intent of the writer. So make sure you're buying the truth and selling it not. Get wisdom, get knowledge, and the only way you can get wisdom and knowledge is if you have root in you. And what is that root? God says the fear of Yehovah is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of Yehovah is the beginning of wisdom and understanding. Start with his fear. If you have his fear, you'll perform his commandments. So again, thanks again for watching. If you have any questions about this parable, leave them down below, and I'll see you on another video.
Shadows start to fade as the truth comes in sight. On the 4th day, he said, let there be light. Let there be light.